Oh, another broken hair. Do you remember? Take your hair and pinch it off. Don't cut, don't pull it. All right, guys, we're on to page 19, Introduction to Go Tell Aunt Rhody. So let's put on our detective hats here for a minute, and let's look. Okay, so we have, excuse me, duets, two sharps, which means key of, say it, and then we have mezzo marking at 86. Look here, we have quarter notes and eighth notes in a rhythm that goes 1, 2, and 3, 4, 1, 2, and 3, and 4. So we have some rhythms on Go Tell Aunt Rhody that aren't any harder than anything that you've done before, but we have to go long, short, short, long, 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 short, 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 long, and it's in a rhythm. So quarter of a bow, eighth of a bow, and arm moves twice as fast on these. Sometimes it's tricky when you're a beginner to get those even. So let's whoops, I just smacked the camera with my pen. Okay, let me make sure I didn't mess up any of that. No, we're good. Okay. So third finger on the D string is, for at this point, if you don't know immediately what this first note is and where you played on your cello and what it's called, you need to keep going over this stuff until you have those three things immediately. Just you can go boom, and there it is. So we have F sharp on the D string, third finger, as a quarter note. Then we're going to go 2 eighth notes. 1, 2, take, 3. So this is 1, 2, take, 3, take, 4, take. So long, short. Then next measure is E, E, G, F sharp, E, D. Long, short, short. Then we have the same pattern rhythm-wise on the next measure as the first measure, where we go A, then and long half note. So that's the first part of it. Now let's look and see, is there anything else that's really similar? Look at this measure and this measure, this measure and this measure, and this measure and this measure, and this one and this one. So these 4 measures are the same as the beginning. Once you learn the beginning, you've already learned that last 4 measures as well. So let's go over measure. This would be measure 5 if we count 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to start at measure 5, which is an F sharp. But instead of going down to the E, it goes up to the G and then on the open A string. So measure 5, third finger on D, then open A, B twice, quarter notes, then 2 8 long. Leave your fingers down. The last 4 measures are the same as the beginning. So that's your introduction to Go Tell Aunt Rhody. Let's move on to Row, Row, Row Your Boat. Row, Row, Row Your Boat. This is a simplified version because we're using 2/4 so that you see what a 2/4 piece would be like, where we go bum, bum, ba, 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 ba. And remember this? It's called a tie, which unites the two half note Ds. You're going to see this throughout this whole piece. You're going to see the ties. And row your boat is also another round, more fugue-like situation where the first person starts and then the second person comes in and plays the exact same thing. This time it's 4 measures later because we're in 2-2. And this one starts on the G, open G. So, and we're going to go 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2, tie 2, then G, G, D, D, B, B, G, G. So it goes down by fourths and then a third. So this is a, then open G, B, third finger on the G, and then open G, and then holds. Then it starts over. So this one is another round, like Are You Sleeping? It repeats it 3 times. What I want you to get really good at is being able to say the notes out loud, because this is on the G and D string. Say the notes out loud. Make sure you've got these notes really down well. And then let's turn the page and do, this is one of my favorites. We have a long history in society of marginalizing groups, and this is an old plantation song, beautifully. I think it's one of the most beautiful rhythms ever, and it's really conducive to cello playing. So this one is on the A string, and if you look at it, it's A and D string. We start 4th finger on the A, then we go down to 1st finger, then open, then 1st finger, 4th finger on the A, which is D, then B, then A. And if you look at this, see how this measures the same? Look at that. This one is 2, so is that one. So once you have this finger pattern down, I want you to look for it other places. Is it anywhere else? Oh, it's there too. And then this finger pattern in the middle is a little bit different, but you see this measure repeated a bunch. So once you've learned this measure, which is open D, 1st finger on the A, B, then open A, then B, you've got a big chunk of the piece learned. And then look at your rhythm. So these are all these little detective things that you can do to figure out what's going on in the music before you ever play. We have 2 sharps, so it's in the key of. Hopefully you have that memorized right now. I won't tell you, so go back and look. We have a lot of quarter notes, no 8th notes in the top part, but we do have some measures where there's some half notes. So break this apart. Look at it, if you can think of it through a magnifying glass. Look at it through the eyes of a detective, where you're trying to find out what something is and how you're going to do it, and then try and play it, because that will cut down on your practice time by hours if you do that. Triage if you're a medical person. So we're starting 4th finger on the D string. Make sure you've got your position. Relax everything. Make sure you've got all your fingers round. Relax. And we're going to go D on the A string, which is 4th finger. Then B on the A string, which is 1st finger. Then open A. So this first 2 measures, your bow is going to be on the A string playing. So we're not moving any strings. We don't have to prep to move down to another string. Then the next measure is the same as the first one. So this is the 3rd measure. Now we're going to click our arm down to the D string and go F sharp, E, D. Then this next measure is the same. The next two measures actually are the same as the first and the third measure. Wow, how fast is that going to be to learn? Once you know this measure, and this measure, you know it all of that first line. Now let's go ahead and go down to measure 7 then. So we have an open A, a fourth finger G on the D string, third finger F sharp on the D, and then fourth on the D. So we go A. I think this comes up bow. Then F sharp, E. Good. Then if you look at the next three measures, the same pattern. It's open D. And third measure, then D, third finger. Then you do the same as the first measure. Then F sharp, E. So there it is. That's your introduction to the last three pieces of the song. The next video that we do is going to be some ear training. No, we're going to do the duets first and then the ear training.